Have you ever explored Google Maps and suddenly come across a place so strange it didn't even feel real? Places that at first glance look like nothing more than points on a map, but hide dense stories, abandoned environments, and records that continue to intrigue people around the world. Some of these locations were the setting for significant events. Others became known for images that raised difficult questions. And there are those that, even with explanations, still create a sense of unease for anyone who takes a closer look. What turns a simple point on the map into one of the most unsettling places ever recorded? And why do so many of these locations continue to be virtually explored by millions of people? In this video, you're going to join me on a growing journey through the most disturbing places ever found on Google Maps. We start with curious and lesser-known locations and move toward places that carry heavy histories that are hard to ignore. Stay until the end, because number one is not just famous, it's one of the most impactful places ever recorded in history. Estonia, Rummu Underwater Prison. Located in Rummu, Estonia, the Rummu Underwater Prison is a former Soviet prison that is now partially submerged in a clear water lake. The site became widely known after Google Maps images revealed visible structures beneath the water, creating an unusual and visually unsettling scene. The prison was built during the Soviet period in the second half of the 20th century and operated as a forced labor camp linked to limestone mining. The turning point came after Estonia's independence, when the site was abandoned and the pumps that kept it dry were turned off, allowing water to quickly flood the complex. The area includes concrete buildings, fences, watchtowers, and industrial sections. Today, some of these structures remain underwater, while others still rise above the surface, creating a striking contrast between ruin and natural landscape. Access to the site is possible and relatively simple. Visitors can walk around the area or even swim and dive in the flooded sections. Movement through the site reveals partially submerged corridors and objects still preserved underwater, increasing the sense of strangeness. Real risks include unstable structures, uneven lake depth, and low visibility in submerged areas. Parts of the terrain can also be slippery and unpredictable. The environment is quiet, with still water reflecting the sky while concrete blocks appear just below the surface. The combination of natural light and submerged structures creates an almost surreal image. Documented fact: the prison was officially deactivated after the end of Soviet control in the region. Popular report: visitors say they feel uneasy swimming above the old submerged corridors, as if passing over a place that shouldn't be there. The site has become an alternative tourist destination and frequently appears in viral videos and images. And if a submerged complex already causes that kind of reaction, the next place shows how an abandoned park can carry even heavier stories. United States, Lake Shawnee Amusement Park. Located in Rock, West Virginia, United States, Lake Shawnee Amusement Park is an abandoned amusement park, known both for its history and the reports associated with the site. On Google Maps, its rusted structures and motionless rides immediately draw attention. The park opened in the 1920s, but its history is connected to earlier events, including conflicts in the region during the 18th century. The park also recorded incidents involving visitors, which contributed to its permanent closure in the 1960s. The site still contains remains of attractions, such as a Ferris wheel, swings, and old tracks, along with simple wooden and metal structures. Vegetation has taken over much of the area, creating a setting where nature and abandoned structures blend together. Access today is through guided visits. Movement to the park includes open paths, areas near the lake, and zones where the rides have remained still for decades. Real risks include rusted structures, uneven terrain, and the presence of wildlife. There are also controlled restrictions for entry. The environment is marked by silence, broken only by the wind passing through metal structures. The sound of small movements creates a constant sense of instability. Documented fact: the park was closed after a combination of financial issues and incidents during its operation. Popular report: visitors report hearing sounds similar to footsteps or laughter in areas where no one is present. The site became known through documentaries and independent investigations. And if an abandoned park already carries this historical weight, the next destination literally takes us beneath one of the most famous cities in the world. France. Paris Catacombs. Located in Paris, France, the Paris Catacombs are an underground system that houses millions of remains arranged along corridors beneath the city. On Google Maps, the entrance appears simple, but it hides one of the most dense and historically significant environments in Europe. The system began to be used in the late 18th century when the city's cemeteries reached critical overcrowding. Authorities transferred remains to old tunnels originally used for limestone extraction, turning the space into an underground ossuary over several years. The structure extends for miles beneath the city, although only a small portion is open to the public. The walls are made of stone and carefully arranged remains, forming corridors that are visually unique and difficult to ignore. Access is through an official entrance leading to descending staircases. Movement inside includes narrow tunnels, low passages, and areas that increase the feeling of confinement. Real risks include disorientation, constant humidity, low ventilation, and illegal access to unmonitored sections. There are records of visitors getting lost while trying to explore beyond permitted areas. The environment is cold, silent, and dimly lit. Footsteps echo through the corridors, while rows of arranged remains create a striking visual impression. Millions of remains were transferred to the catacombs over several decades. Popular report. Some visitors report intense discomfort and the feeling of being watched in quieter sections. The catacombs became one of Paris's most well-known historical sites, and if this underground environment already impresses by its scale, the next location shows how an entire town can be slowly consumed by time. Namibia. Koolmanskop Ghost Town. Located near Luderitz, Namibia, Koolmanskop is a ghost town known for abandoned houses slowly being taken over by desert sand. On Google Maps, the images reveal interiors filled with dunes, creating an unusual and hard-to-ignore visual scene. The town emerged in the early 20th century during the diamond rush in the region. It quickly became a prosperous center with advanced infrastructure for its time, including a hospital, school, and leisure areas. The turning point came when resources began to run out and residents left in search of new opportunities. The buildings are mainly European style, made of wood and masonry. Today, many still stand, but with interiors invaded by sand, creating environments where the desert appears to have completely taken over the constructed space. Access to the site is controlled and done through authorized visits. Movement takes place along partially buried streets and inside the houses, where each room presents different levels of sand accumulation. Real risks include extreme heat, sun exposure, weakened structures, and unstable sand in interior areas. The environment is silent, with constant wind passing through open doors and windows. Light enters through openings and illuminates dunes formed inside the rooms, creating strong visual contrasts. Koolmanskop was gradually abandoned after the decline of diamond extraction in the region. Popular report. Visitors describe the feeling of walking through a place frozen in time, where everything was left behind suddenly. Today, Koolmanskop is one of the most well-known examples of a desert ghost town, and frequently appears in visual records around the world. And if a sand-covered city already creates impact, the next location shows a phenomenon that still appears active today. Turkmenistan, Darvaza Gas Crater. Located in the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan, the Darvaza Gas Crater, known as the Door to Hell, is a massive burning crater that has remained active for decades. On Google Maps, the site stands out as a bright point in the middle of the dark desert. The crater formed in the 1970s when a natural gas drilling operation caused the ground to collapse. The area was set on fire with the expectation that it would burn out in a few days, which never happened. The site spans dozens of meters in diameter and has significant depth, with sandy and earthen walls surrounding it. The fire continues to burn constantly, fueled by natural gas beneath the surface. Access is possible, but requires travel through remote desert areas. Movement around the crater takes place on uneven terrain, with no formal infrastructure. Real risks include extreme heat, unstable ground, gas exposure, and geographic isolation. The lack of nearby support increases the need for caution. The environment is defined by constant heat and the continuous sound of burning fire. At night, the glow of the flames lights up the crater, creating a strong contrast with the surrounding darkness. Documented fact: the crater has been burning continuously since its formation in the 1970s. Visitors describe the feeling of standing in front of something that feels beyond normal, especially at night. The site has become one of the most unusual locations on the planet and frequently appears in global records. And if a burning phenomenon already stands out, the next destination involves a place surrounded by objects that seem to watch anyone who approaches. Mexico. Island of the Dolls. Located in Xochimilco, Mexico City, Mexico, the Island of the Dolls is a small area surrounded by canals, known for hundreds of dolls hanging from trees and structures across the site. On Google Maps, the location stands out due to the unusual number of these objects spread throughout the environment. The story of the place is tied to a man who lived on the island during the 20th century. He began hanging dolls after finding the body of a child nearby, believing it would help keep negative energies away. The island is small, with dense vegetation and simple wooden structures. The dolls, many deteriorated over time, are spread across nearly the entire area. Access is by boat through the canals of Xochimilco. Movement is limited to small paths and open spaces within the island. Real risks are low, but include uneven ground, insects, and simple structures exposed to weather conditions. The environment is quiet, with the sound of water and wind moving through the trees. The dolls, with their worn appearance, create a striking visual as they move slightly with the breeze. Documented fact: the island became a tourist attraction after the death of its former resident. Popular report: visitors report feeling watched and uncomfortable among the hanging figures. If you're following this journey through the most disturbing places found on Google Maps, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell, because from this point on, we're entering even more intense locations. The Island of the Dolls became one of the most talked about places in Mexico when it comes to mystery. And if this environment already feels unsettling, the next destination takes that feeling to an abandoned industrial island in the middle of the ocean. Japan, Hashima Island. Located in Nagasaki, Japan, Hashima Island, also known as Gunkanjima, is an abandoned island that became famous for its densely packed concrete buildings. On Google Maps, the location appears as an isolated urban block in the middle of the ocean. The island was developed in the late 19th century for undersea coal mining. For decades, it became one of the most densely populated places in the world. The turning point came in the 1970s, when coal was replaced by other energy sources, leading to the complete abandonment of the island. The area is made up of multi-story concrete buildings, connected by stairways, corridors, and shared spaces. Today, much of these structures show advanced deterioration due to constant exposure to the sea. Access is controlled and done through guided tours. Movement is limited to specific authorized areas, as much of the island is considered unstable and unsafe. Real risks include deteriorating structures, falling debris, strong winds, and restricted access to unsafe zones. The environment is defined by silence, broken only by wind and waves. Empty corridors and damaged buildings create the feeling of a city frozen in time. Documented fact: the island was completely evacuated within a few months after mining operations ended. Visitors described the sensation of being in a place where everything was suddenly left behind. Hashima has become a global symbol of urban abandonment and frequently appears in films and documentaries. And if an isolated city in the ocean already creates this impact, the next destination takes this feeling into a natural environment, known for persistent reports. Japan, Aokigahara Forest. Located in Yamanashi Prefecture, Japan, Aokigahara Forest is a dense natural area at the base of Mount Fuji, known for its silent atmosphere and reports associated with the location. On Google Maps, the region appears as a vast and uniform green expanse. The forest formed over solidified lava after an eruption of Mount Fuji in the 9th century. It became known not only for its geography, but also for stories that contributed to its current reputation. The area is composed of extremely dense vegetation, with closely spaced trees and uneven ground formed by volcanic rock. There are trails, but many sections remain little explored. Access is allowed, and there are official entrances with marked paths. However, leaving these trails can make navigation difficult, as the forest reduces both visual and technological signals. Real risks include disorientation, uneven terrain, and difficulty communicating in deeper areas. The environment is unusually quiet, with very little wind circulation. The ground absorbs sound, and natural light enters only in limited amounts through the trees, creating a constant sense of isolation. Documented fact: the forest is monitored by authorities due to a history of recorded incidents over the years. Popular report: visitors report feeling disoriented and uncomfortable, even in areas close to the trails. Aokigahara has become one of the most well-known locations in Japan when it comes to natural mystery. And if a natural environment can create this kind of tension, the next destination reveals an entire city that was left behind. Ukraine. Pripyat. Located in the Kyiv Oblast region of Ukraine, Pripyat is an abandoned city that became globally known after the Chernobyl nuclear incident. On Google Maps, empty streets, deteriorating buildings, and intact urban structures reveal a setting that feels frozen in time. The city was founded in the 1970s to house workers of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant and their families. Within a few years, it became a modern urban center for its time. The turning point came in 1986 when the incident at the plant led to the complete evacuation of the population within hours, leaving everything behind. Pripyat includes residential buildings, schools, a hospital, an amusement park, cultural centers, and various structures spread across a wide area. Over the years, vegetation began to grow through streets, buildings, and open spaces, transforming the original landscape. Access is controlled and occurs through authorized tours within the exclusion zone. Movement follows specific routes, passing through main avenues, residential areas, and well-known landmarks, such as the amusement park and public buildings. Real risks include controlled levels of radiation in certain areas, deteriorating structures, unstable floors, and strict legal restrictions outside authorized routes. The environment is silent, with wind moving through empty buildings and trees growing where busy streets once existed. Objects left behind can still be found in some interiors, reinforcing the sense of sudden abandonment. Documented fact: the city was evacuated after the Chernobyl nuclear incident in 1986 and has never been repopulated. Popular report: visitors describe the feeling of being in a place where time stopped abruptly, with clear signs of an unexpected departure. Pripyat has become one of the most iconic locations in the world when it comes to urban abandonment and historical impact. And after passing through all these places, the next destination is not just a point on the map. It is one of the most significant sites ever recorded in history. Poland. Auschwitz II-Birkenau. Located in Oświęcim, Poland, Auschwitz II-Birkenau is a historical complex known worldwide for its role during World War II. On Google Maps, the sheer scale of the site already reveals the magnitude of what once existed there. The complex was built in the 1940s and was part of a larger system of camps operated during the war period. It became one of the main locations associated with extremely significant historical events, leading to the end of its operations with the conclusion of the conflict. The area is extensive, with railway tracks, barracks, watchtowers, and structures spread across a large open field. Many of these constructions have been preserved as part of the historical record. Access is allowed through organized visits. Movement follows defined paths that pass through different areas of the complex, allowing visitors to observe both the structures and the scale of the site. Real risks are mainly related to preservation and respect for visitation rules, as this is a protected historical area. The environment is quiet and open, with large empty spaces and aligned structures stretching across the land. The wind moves through the area, reinforcing the sense of scale and emptiness. Documented fact. The complex is internationally recognized as one of the most important historical memorials of World War II. Popular report. Visitors describe a strong emotional impact while walking through the site, even without knowing all of its historical details. Auschwitz II-Birkenau has become a global symbol of historical memory, and after going through all these locations, it becomes clear that some points on the map carry far more than just images. From an underwater prison in Estonia to an abandoned city in Ukraine, passing through dense forests, isolated islands, and structures forgotten by time, this journey revealed some of the most disturbing places ever found on Google Maps. We started with curious locations and moved toward places that carry real historical weight, where every structure, corridor, and space holds marks of what once happened there. With each position, the tension increased, showing that what appears on the map is not always just another ordinary place. These locations are not just buildings or landscapes. They are real records of events that continue to echo, whether through history, environment, or the stories that still circulate. Now I want to know, which of these places caught your attention the most? Would you have the courage to visit any of them in person? And is there any other location you've seen on Google Maps that should be part of a future list? If you enjoy this type of content, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. That helps the channel grow and guarantees more videos with increasingly intense stories.